Hello, good morning, or good day, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I know it's not morning for everybody. I often say good morning because it's my morning and I like starting my day with you. Glad to be here with you today. Yesterday, our card was the Thousand Armed Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, whose two human arms split into 1,000 arms in order to be more helpful to humanity and to living beings. And our assignment yesterday was to try to find one good thing we could do in someone's life to help someone, to be there for someone yesterday. So hopefully the universe welcomed your help in some way for someone's situation yesterday. And today, let's see what is coming. So we are working this week with a translation of that. So last week we were with the translation of the Heart Sutra by Edward Conze. I don't know if you say it Conze or Cones. I don't know. It's one of those words names I've only seen written, not heard said. This week we are listening to the translation by J.A.A. Narayan. And this is a translation from the Sanskrit. I think. The heart's perfect wisdom. Uttering the sound of the three states of existence, I enter mystic union of oneness with the entire cosmos. In the three worlds, in the three times, my breath binds the sound. Om. Purifying the body, speech, and mind. I take refuge and invoke the awakened mind of the goddess who knows all and hears all suffering. The blessed Bodhisattva Aryatara, from the deep practices of the heart's perfect wisdom, understanding that the 5 elements of consciousness were always empty, instructing her student Shariputra, she says, in this world of forms, Shariputra, all phenomena are empty. Form is emptiness and emptiness is form. Form is not separate from emptiness, and emptiness is not different from form. Always, emptiness is the same as phenomena. Potential or actual form and emptiness never separate. So it is for feelings, conceptions, perceptions, and consciousness. All phenomena, Shariputra, have the characteristics of emptiness. They neither die nor take their birth into existence. Neither are improper nor shining with purity. Neither are complete nor deficient, in any way wanting. So, Shariputra, in that emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, conception, perception, nor consciousness. There is no seeing, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, nor thought. Neither are there solid forms, sound, fragrance, sensation, nor conceptual phenomena. No circle of sight, nor is there a sphere of consciousness. There is no knowledge nor ignorance. Neither does ignorance get vanquished nor knowledge voided. No long road into aging and death, and no liberation from it. No causes of suffering nor samsara, no stopping on the journey of joy and suffering. There is no clinging to thoughts nor grasping. There is no attainment of anything, as there's nothing to attain. With blissful practicing of the heart's perfect wisdom, obstructions of mind move clear, and the labyrinthine maze of thought impressions and delusions of duality are liberated. In this way, the blessed Bodhisattva Aryatara enters enlightened transcendence. In the 3 worlds, all on the Bodhisattva path may practice the heart's perfect wisdom, and in applying it every moment, find the nature of mind and enter enlightenment. So understand and see the mantra of the heart's perfect wisdom as the strongest of sorceries, as the most powerful saying of mystical and sacred speech. It is the mantra which smooths over all things, which disperses lies into its light of truth. This mantra liberates all and is said like this: Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhi soha. Gone, gone, crossed over, gone, completely gone beyond to the far shore, awakened, and all is good. This ends the heart's perfect wisdom. When we do Kuan Yin practice and we say the prayer after the offerings and we say, well, I offer clouds, clouds of offerings, actual and virtual. That's one of the things that we're talking about, is that all offerings are both actual and virtual. There's no offering we make that has substantive form relative to emptiness. And there is no offering we make that is empty of form. And if this breaks your brain a little, it's because it's supposed to. There is no form other than emptiness, and no emptiness other than form. And when we make our offerings, that's part of how we come to understand. Maybe I shouldn't say understand. Glimpse the heart's perfect wisdom. If we think we understand it, that's when we're definitely shown that we do not. Oh, look at this. Today's card is Prajnaparamita. Maybe she's happy that I just tried my best to explain that. Prajnaparamita, wisdom goddess of the three times. The writings of great beings have the voice of God within. Let's see what the book has to say. Prajnaparamita means the perfection of wisdom. Centuries ago, intense study led to the flourishing of writings from the soul, Dharma works to help others find their path. When someone is in the flow and writing from the heart, the ring of truth is there in the words, and it reaches your core. The written word from people like this was considered exciting and unusual. The texts they made, and remember that when sutras were written, many of them were only written, they were written, but many people were not able to write or to read. So it was a big deal to be able to write and read these texts. And a lot of people learned by memorizing what they heard someone else reading, because they themselves could not read. So they would wait for a reader to come. Our ancestresses in the Mount Shasta Goddess Temple for the month of January is Machi Glabdron, Tibetan mystic from the 11th century, who originally was considered an excellent reader of the Heart Sutra. She was famous for her ability to read the Heart Sutra quickly and precisely without mistakes. And so she was quite sought after to have her come to people's events, homes, deathbeds, other places, to read aloud the Heart Sutra. So Prajnaparamita is the spirit of that word. It's hard for us to imagine the reverence that these writings held for people in an age before there were corner bookshops, computers, and on-demand printing. They were scarce. Other than word of mouth, there was no technology to tell you that they existed. You had to travel far distances for the opportunity to study with someone who had read them. Maybe if you were lucky, you could look upon the text. Over time, the tantric writings called sutras were distilled into two great works, the Diamond Sutras and the Heart Sutras. These sacred texts revered, their words thought to have been transmitted from a higher realm to the mortals in this world, flowing out to us through their pens. This transmission, or energy entity, for lack of a better word, was acknowledged as a goddess of wisdom. She is perhaps the same one who guided Shakespeare's hand or other greats whose works have far surpassed their culture, time, and education. The image of Prajnaparamita holding her book, offering it to us, and this image is a six-armed Prajnaparamita. She's holding a staff, she's holding a text, she's holding a mala, a dorje, and she has two hands in mudras. The image of Prajnaparamita holding her book, offering it to us, is a personification of all of the work, worship, and rarity of those ancient written words, which still are here today to help us break our brains. She is radiant. Oh, Prajnaparamita gives birth to new ideas and to the fulfillment of spiritual practice. She is radiant with the joy of knowledge. She is generous and giving. Dana, that's one of the other paramitas. So prajna is wisdom. Dana paramita is generosity, and so on. There are six paramitas. She is handing us the text that will help answer some of our greatest riddles. Well, I don't know if it will answer it. I think sometimes it gives us more questions, but I do think, and I think there's danger in thinking we have the answers. I think our real power is in feeling like we know what questions to ask. So let's today ask crucial questions. Let's go on our search for knowledge, whether it's by going to a library or renting, borrowing a book, or whether it's reading something online, or whether it is going kind of following the thread of questions that arise in our day. We may not know exactly where they'll lead us. Sometimes that's better, especially if you're researching goddesses and mythologies and spiritualities. I find that kind of just allowing a question to surface and then following it down the rabbit hole is a great way for me to come to awareness of texts I didn't know about, or sutras I didn't know about, or sometimes to make crucial connections between different concepts or mythologies that I hadn't seen before. So whatever you do today, let's try to create a space for perfect wisdom. And the most perfect wisdom is in our willingness to learn, not in what we learn. So that is our short bit today. We're going to educate ourselves. We're going to be open to the inspiration, whatever Prajnaparamita, whatever wisdom wants to come in today. And we're going to give it a little space to come in. All right, so now let's dive into the longer practice with 3 prostrations before Guanyin. And let's take refuge. Namo Guru Be. I take refuge in the inner teacher. Namo Buddhaye. I take refuge in the Great Mother of Compassion. Namo Dharmaye. I take refuge in the wisdom of the ages. Namo Sanghaye. I take refuge in the community of practitioners. And let's set our intention. A person, place, situation, or circumstance that will benefit from today's practice. And today we are holding Kathy's daughter who was diagnosed with COVID, and Kara's sister diagnosed with COVID, as well as Lisette who had surgery is recovering, which is so great. And let's recite the four immeasurables. May I be a source of loving kindness in this world and all worlds, bringing a generous heart to all my thoughts and doings. May I be a vehicle of compassion in this world and all worlds, ever mindful and aware of the tremendous suffering of others. May I be a brimming vessel of joy in this world and all worlds, delighting in the happiness of others as their suffering is alleviated. May I be a balance point of equanimity in this world and all worlds, seeing all as equals and all as deserving of goodness. And now let's go ahead and make these actual and virtual offerings. I light this candle as a symbol of the enlightening Dharma way. May it shine brightly for the benefit of all beings. I light this incense as an offering for Guan Xiyin, she who hears the cries of the world, mother of all. Om Ahum. 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 Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering, actual and virtual. I confess all my destructive actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the meditation of all holy and ordinary beings. Please, Guan Yin, remain until the end of samsaric existence, and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of others to the great enlightenment. And now let's awaken that actual and virtual compassion within our actual and virtual hearts, readying it to go out into the world for the benefit of all beings, into the actual and virtual world. Namo Quan Shin Pusa, 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 Namo Quan Shin Pusa. Namo Quan Shin Pusa, 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 Namo Quan Shin Pusa. Namo Quan Shin Pusa, 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 Namo Quan Shin Pusa. Namo Quan Shin Pusa, 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 Namo Quan Shin Pusa. Namo Quan Shin Pusa, 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 Namo Quan Shin Pusa. Namo Quan Shin Pusa, 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 Namo Quan Shin Pusa. Namo Quan Shin Pusa, 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 Namo Quan Shin Pusa. Namo Quan Shin Pusa, 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 Namo Quan Shin Pusa. Namo Quan Shin Pusa, 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 Namo Quan Shin Pusa. Namo Quan Shin Pusa, 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 Namo Quan Shin Pusa. Namo Quan Shin Pusa, 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 Namo Guanshin 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 Pusa. Our aspirational words of Yeshet Tsogyal. Wherever there is space, 5 elements pervade. Wherever the 5 elements, the homes of living beings. Wherever living beings, karma and defilements. Wherever is defilement, my compassion also. Wherever is the need of beings, there I am to help them. To the hungry I was heaps of food and all good things, and thus I brought them joy. To the cold and freezing I was fire and sun warmth, thus their joy. To the poor and needy I was wealth and riches, thus their joy. To the naked I was every kind of raiment, thus their joy. To the childless I was sons and daughters, thus their joy. To those who sought a lover, I was a loving and attractive consort, and thus their joy. To those who wanted magic powers, I gave prowess in the 8 great cities, and thus I brought them joy. To the sick I was their remedy, and thus their joy. To the anguished I was all their mind desired, and thus I was their joy. To those hard-pressed by punishments of despots, I was the loving friend to lead them to the land of peace, and I was thus their joy. To those in fear of wild beasts I was a haven, thus their joy. To those who fell into the depths I was their drawing out, and thus their joy. To those tormented in the fires I was a quenching stream, and thus their joy. To those in prey to any of the 5 elements, I was their medicine, and thus their joy. For those who could not see, I was their eyes, and brought them joy. And for those who could not walk, I was feet, and thus their joy. I was a tongue for those who could not speak, and thus I brought them joy. To those in fear of death, I granted immortality, and thus I was their joy. I led the dying on the path of transference, and brought them joy. To those who wandered in the bardo state, I was their spirit guide, bringing them to joy. I cooled the burning heat and warmed the cold of those lost in the realms of hell. Howsoever they were tortured, I changed myself to shield them, being thus their joy. To those who lingered in the land of hungry ghosts, I was their food and drink, and thus their joy. I was freedom from oppression and servitude for those caught in the wordless state of beasts, and thus I brought them joy. Those beings born in places of war, I protected them from strife and brought them joy. I was a truce from endless conflict for the demigods, and was thus their joy. The jealous gods I guarded from their bitter fall, and I was thus their joy. I shielded all from everything that tortured them, and was their every joy. How can one person be all of that? We can be like Yeshet Tsogyal by directing our energies, both actual and virtual, into the world to whatever is needed. So let's do that with this round of Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 And let's give thanks for our teachers. May all of my blessed teachers enjoy long, happy, healthy, productive lives and great support for their good works. May all beings benefit from their wisdom. May they enjoy a swift and happy rebirth. And long life prayer for Lama Dechen Yeshe Wangmo. Om Sosti. Through the powerful blessings of the immortal Pema Jungye and his consort, may the three secret qualities of the Dakini of Supreme Bliss, Yeshe Wangmo, be utterly stable, and may the light of her activities shine on the lotus groves of the teachings and of beings, so that they blossom in radiant splendor. And let's dedicate the merit. May the merit of this practice and all of my activities be of endless benefit to all beings in all realms, beginningless and continuous. May all obstacles be overcome and suffering cease at the sound of liberation. May all beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all beings have happiness and its causes. May we carry the essence of Guanyin in our hearts. Namo Guanxin Pusa. And we close with a bow to Guanyin, bow to one another, and a bow to the inner teacher, and wishing everybody a good day. Hoping that you are safe, hoping that you are healthy, hoping that you are able to find the wisdom in this day. And I'll be back tomorrow.